Hello bookworms, it's Jade from That Time Bookworm and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you the BookTube Oldie Tag. So today, the day that I am posting this video, October 8th, is my 5-year BookTube anniversary. 5 years ago today, I posted the BookTube Newbie Tag. Earlier this year, I started seeing the BookTube Oldie Tag going around, and I thought it might be the perfect way to celebrate my BookTube anniversary this year, and so here we are. This tag was created by the lovely Monica Kim. I will link the original video down in the description box so that you guys can go check it out if you'd like. I'm thinking this should be pretty short and quick because there are only 7 questions, but who knows, I might have a lot to say about these questions. The first question is, how long have you been a part of the BookTube community? Like I said, this is my 5-year BookTube anniversary, although I did watch BookTube for maybe 6 months before I started my channel, so I mean that kind of counts as being part of the community too. And actually about a year before I started my channel, I started out as a book blogger. I used to have a book blog, and when I started making videos I didn't totally quit the blog, but after a couple of years I was being super inconsistent about posting on the blog, so I let that part of it go and have kept up with my channel. Granted, I haven't been super active all 5 years. I'd say the first 2.5 years, my posting was pretty sporadic, but the last 2.5 years, I have been pretty consistent with a few breaks here and there of posting videos. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are surprised that I've been around for 5 years because you've only recently heard of me, but I think a lot of that has to do with my inconsistency in the first 2.5 years of my channel. I also want to say that BookTube has literally changed my life. I spend so much time reading and filming and editing and being active in the community that I literally cannot imagine what my life would look like without BookTube. I've also made some amazing friends, people that I would have never met without BookTube, that I talk to almost every day, people who I consider to be my really good friends, and I can't imagine life without them, and I wouldn't have met them if I hadn't started this channel. Question number 2, what was your biggest misconception before starting BookTube? I'm not entirely sure what to answer for this. I think probably the amount of time it takes to make videos. I will say that I think I personally take a lot more time to make and edit videos than other people. Not because I'm saying that other people should take more time, just that I am like slower about some things and I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. Just the way that I go about making videos, I think ends up taking longer than maybe it necessarily should. But at the same time, I really like my process and the videos I end up with, that I'm not willing to kind of change those things to make it be faster, because I would like to be able to put out more content than I do. I do work full time, and I'd say I spend like 10 to 20 hours a week making the videos that I do make. And that's not including reading time. So unless I find a way to significantly speed up my process without affecting the quality of my videos, I don't really see myself being able to put out a ton more content than I already do. I guess what I'm trying to say is I am definitely envious of people who are able to put out high quality content faster than I can, because I want to be that way, but I've just kind of come to terms with the fact that this is how it is for me. And then the other thing that I could mention, and it's not necessarily that this was a misconception that I had going in, but the idea that to be a booktuber you have to buy a lot of books, that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to start a booktube channel, because I have always been a heavy library user and I wanted to be like an example of a channel where I didn't buy a ton of books. In fact, one of my earliest videos is about how I don't buy books, and I've been meaning to make an update to that video because at this point I buy a lot more books than I did when I started my channel, but I still think that in the grand scheme of all of BookTube, I am on the lower buying end. So that wasn't necessarily a misconception that I had, but it was a misconception that I wanted to debunk when I started my channel. Question number 3, how do you think BookTube has changed since you first started? BookTube has definitely grown so much since I first started, and it's gotten a lot more nuanced. When I first started, and still to this day, what people typically are seeing when they first get introduced to BookTube are like the big YA channels. There are so many more adult channels as well as people who read a mix like I do. There are a ton of romance-centric channels, which that was like not really a thing back in 2015. There's even a like cozy mystery section of BookTube. Granted, all of those areas of BookTube are still smaller compared to like the main YA area of BookTube, but they are growing. Like, there literally are BookTube channels for any kind of book that people would want to read or that people enjoy reading. Some of them might take a little bit of like searching out, but they're there if you can find them. And I absolutely love that. I just feel like there's just something on BookTube for everybody, and there's so many people who don't know, like readers outside of the YouTube world that don't know that BookTube exists. So I always get really excited when I can introduce the idea of BookTube to people, which I have done quite a few times over the last 5 years. There's also a lot more diversity. There's a lot more ethnic diversity, like there's a lot more Black booktubers that have bigger channels now, and also a lot of people who are like LGBTQ or non-binary and things like that. There's something for everybody, no matter what your tastes are, and I just absolutely love that about BookTube. Question number 4, what is your favorite BookTube memory? This is hard because I have a lot of really good BookTube memories, but my favorite was probably going to BookNet Fest last year. It was the first time that I had gone, and I just met so many people that I had been communicating with through social media for years, or watching their videos and commenting on their videos. I finally get to meet some of them in person, and it was so cool because I literally was meeting these people for the first time, but at the same time, it felt like I had known them forever. Like, there wasn't really, that awkwardness of meeting people for the first time and not knowing them very well, because we'd all kind of been watching each other's videos for, years for some of them. And we all have this like shared community, shared love of books and talking about books in common. I was just so at home with these people who I had never met before, but at the same time felt like I'd known forever. And that is definitely one of my favorite BookTube memories. Question number 5, what are some books that you were introduced to because of BookTube? This question is really hard to answer because pretty much everything that I read these days is because of BookTube. Before BookTube, I would just kind of like walk into the library and pick out things that jumped out at me. But I don't do that anymore. I am always just making a list, like my TBRs, of books that I want to read that I'm interested in because I've heard other booktubers talk about or seen on the bookish internet, whether that's book Twitter or Bookstagram. And I really don't do any browsing at the library, especially now in the time of COVID, but I put in requests and then I go and I pick up my requests and I leave. So I don't have a good answer for this because literally everything that I read is something that I've heard of from BookTube. I have kind of played around with the idea of trying to do more reading of things that I haven't heard of before, like maybe do a reading vlog where I go to the bookstore, go to the library, and browse and try to find something that I have not heard of and read it. I think that would be a lot of fun, just because so much of my reading these days is things that I've heard of before, because I hear about so many books from being immersed in this community, which honestly is one of my favorite things about being in this community. Before joining BookTube or bookish internet, I had no idea like what new releases were. I mean, I knew what new releases were, but I didn't know what books were coming out. It wasn't something I paid attention to. And one of the things that I love is like now I hear about new releases all the time, and I love like knowing what's coming out, knowing what people are talking about, knowing what's popular. I just feel like I'm like in the know, like in a special book club, because I know these things from the bookish internet, and I love that. Question number 6, what is something that frustrates you about BookTube? What frustrates me? I think one thing that I sometimes find frustrating is the judginess of BookTube, and maybe not necessarily BookTube, but just like the bookish internet sometimes. Like, you know, there's always drama about people who do big book hauls, which I participated in a like roundtable discussion of that over on Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany's channel. I'll link that down below. But that conversation comes up often. Or I feel like people get judged about the kinds of books that they read. Like YA gets trashed on so much by people who read a lot of adult. Or, you know, people who read just for fun and who don't, you know, necessarily think super analytically about what they're reading, super critically about what they're reading. I just think that people should be able to do what they want in relation to books as far as, you know, how much money they spend on books or what they enjoy reading without worrying about being judged by other people. And I'm of the opinion that reading is wholly subjective, which I want to make a video about this at some point, probably like in the way I rate books video or something. But I think that the reading experience is completely subjective, like not even a little bit objective, which I think that a lot of people don't agree with, but that is my opinion. And because of that, I think that you shouldn't judge other people for what books they enjoy or how they interpret things. Let's just let people be happy, guys. Another thing that frustrates me sometimes about BookTube are the people who get kind of like obsessed with the numbers and maybe like try to be friends with people who have bigger channels because they want to grow their channel more and like maybe look down on people with smaller channels. And I find that really frustrating just because even though I've been here for 5 years, I am only just now getting close to 5,000 subscribers, which for some people, that's a lot. Like there are people who have been around longer than me who have smaller channels. And there are some people who have been around for not as long as me and have way bigger channels. So I get really frustrated when people get down on themselves about how fast their channel or how slow their channel is growing. There's nothing wrong with wanting to grow your channel, but you should be doing it out of love for reading and for sharing your opinion on books with other people. And like the numbers shouldn't make you feel bad about yourself. The YouTube algorithm is weird. It's not always easy to grow, and a lot of it is based on luck. So if you want to do BookTube, do it because you love it and it makes you happy, and try not to judge your self-worth based on how fast or slow your channel is growing, because in some ways that is, you know, outside of your control. And just because someone has a big channel doesn't mean that they are better in any way than someone with a small channel. There are so many small channels that I absolutely love, and some of those people have been around for a really long time, and I watch them and I'm like, I don't know why your channel is still the size that it is, because you deserve so many more subscribers. Okay, question number 7. What is your hope for the future of BookTube? My hope is that more of the reading community outside of what is already on the bookish internet discovers BookTube. I think that there are a lot of readers out there who would be super excited to learn that BookTube exists, but they just don't know that it's a thing. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that I just want BookTube to grow and grow and grow. Like the more people who know it exists, the more people who watch and comment, and the more people who make their own channels, the more diverse our community becomes, and the more books we get to hear about, because everybody has, you know, slightly different reading tastes. And that's what I love about BookTube, is the diversity and getting to hear about new books, underrated books, books that I would have never picked up if I didn't hear someone rave about it. And I just want more of that. So my hope for the future of BookTube is just for it to grow and for more readers who are, you know, currently outside of the bookish internet to discover it. Alright guys, that is my BookTube oldie tag. Let me know down in the comment section if you have any thoughts on the things that I said. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. That is all I have for now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bookworms, keep reading. Bye.